Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Anathan Theater. Tonight we will have the pleasure of showing you two of the student-directed one-act productions, The Will, directed by Patricia Voigt, and The Brothers Monogamous, directed by Christopher Hefner. Before we begin, just have a few general announcements. Number one, please turn off all your cell phones, do not disturb, not silent, just please turn them all the way off. Number two, no food or drink are allowed in the theater unless it's bottled water. Number three, you'll notice that we have two cameras that are filming the production. We are the only ones allowed to film this production for the academic archives. Other than that, no photographing or filming this production in any way, shape, or form, as it will violate the copyright laws and we can get in trouble. And after the show, there will be a brief 10-minute intermission to get up, stretch your legs, stuff like that, and then come back, because right afterwards is The Brothers Monogamous. I think that just about covers everything. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I'm uneasy. Your plan is too risky.
There's no problem. Listen, what have the Marquis and I got in common? Nothing apart from this dead relative who leaves him 600,000 francs in his will, on the condition that he marries me. If he chooses not to marry me, he's bound to give me 200,000 as a way of compensation. The choice is up to him. Although it isn't, is it? Because he doesn't like me. A little bird tells me he's got his eye on the Countess. Moreover, the Marquis is rich, and this inheritance is just more providential booty falling out of the sky. So why fret, Chevalier? Do you really think this man would prefer to marry me to save 200,000 francs when, 1, I'm as cold as an iceberg as far as he's concerned, and 2, he's in love with the Countess, who certainly does not find him unpalatable and who is far richer than me?
And what makes you think the Countess has taken to him?
A lot of small things that I notice from day to day. It's no surprise he's just right for her. The Countess is a very abrupt woman. Sharp, domineering, she likes to be first and she likes to be on top. Not the Marquis. He's soft, passive, a nice easy ride. They're a perfect match. She's always saying nice things about him and he's the most pleasant companion. Easygoing, frank but abrasive. They're right for each other.
I'm not so convinced. Don't underestimate these 200,000 francs he'll have to come up with if he doesn't marry you. And even if there is attraction, given who they are and what they're like, they're never going to get around to telling each other.
Of course they are, because I'm going to put the Marquis into such a tight corner that he's going to have to come clean. I want to know where I stand. It's the least he can do. For the last 6 weeks, we've been staying out here in the country with the Countess. And do you know what he said to me? Nothing. 6 weeks of pastoral mutism. I'm going to open him up. And I don't intend to lose what the will promises me.
Well, what if he says he will marry you?
He won't. Leave it to me. My guess is that he's hoping that I'm going to refuse him. He may even go as far as to pretend to consent to our marriage. But don't let that upset you. You're not rich enough to marry me without these 200,000 francs, and I shall be only too delighted to bring the necessary balance to the altar. I'm convinced that the Marquis and the Countess are attracted to each other. Let's see what Lepine and Lisette have to say. He's cool and clever, and she's sharp. They're both very close to their master and mistress, and once they know that any relevant information will be duly rewarded, we are home and dry. They're here now. Go and take a walk in the garden. Come here, Lisette. You want something, madame? Yes, but nothing that could in any way compromise the loyalty you both feel. You toward the Marquis, and you toward the Countess.
So much the better, madame.
If that's the case, you can ask what you like of us.
But first, a little token for services rendered.
Might we first know a little bit more about the services required?
Take it in any case. You too, Lepine.
I would, of course, express the same reservations as Lisette, but in any respect for rank encourages me not to. Thank you.
No strings attached, I promise. Now, down to business. The Marquis thinks highly of you, Lapine.
Very highly. He knows my worth.
I noticed he confides in you.
I could write his diary. Know my way about him better than he does.
The same goes for you and the Countess, Lisette.
I do have that honor.
Tell me, Lapine. I think the Marquis is in love with the Countess. Right or wrong, there's surely nothing unseemly in telling the truth about truth.
Difficult to give a straight answer here and now. We're due to discuss the matter this evening.
And what do you think? Does he or doesn't he?
Let's just say I have a hunch which shall doubtless shortly be confirmed.
And what about the Countess, Lisette?
The Countess is not in the least interested in getting married again.
I beg to differ.
I think they're in love. A hypothesis, but suppose I'm right. There's a problem. They're never going to get around to telling each other. But supposing Lapine incites the Marquis to open his heart, and supposing Lisette inclines the Countess to listen to him, what do you think? You could hardly say we were acting against nature.
On the contrary.
I'd like you to take this back.
Keep it, please, but what's wrong?
What you are asking me to do is precisely what I cannot do. The Countess is a widow. She's happy, at peace with things. I'm not going to upset the balance. I even pray she can hold on to what she's got.
I, on the other hand, am going to keep this token. The Marquis is a bachelor, he's as celibate as a monk. And marriage is a good thing, an excellent thing. Of course it has its ups and downs, don't we all? I do. My lot in life is sometimes a heavy one. The world's like that. So I'll go along with you, madame, I'll play the game. Don't see any harm in it. People marry, always have, always will. The only honest way out when you're in love.
You surprised me, Lisette. Even more so because I was under the impression that you two had plans.
Not in the least, that is as far as I am concerned.
Oh, that? Me neither. I don't feel anything for her but respect. Which isn't to say that she couldn't accept other feelings, but I seem to have passed by without being arrested.
Things are fine that way.
That's all I wanted to say. Goodbye, Lisette. Do as you please. All I ask is that you be discreet. Lapine, I accept your offer.
We have nothing more to say to each other, Monsieur de Lapine. I have a lot to do. Farewell.
Hang on, mademoiselle. There's something I want to tell you. Something I think I ought to tell you. Something that just happened. A mishap.
Tell me.
I'm well brought up, you doubtless noticed. The result, I never looked you straight in the face. So I never knew quite what you looked like.
I'm in the same boat. Worse. Here I am looking at you, and for the likes of me, I'm not sure if even now I can tell what you look like.
The lady somehow got it into her head that you and I were in love.
She got it wrong, didn't she?
That's where the mishap comes in. What she said did make me look at you differently. My gaze alighted upon your physiognomy.
Charming.
Not bad. Very nice. A pleasant eyeful.
You are one, Monsieur de Lapine. A real one. Only as soon as men start making passes, boredom gets me behind the knees. Would that be all?
A little less. Do like I did. Look at me for once.
All right. And?
See any difference? Listen with your heart, not your head.
Nothing much to listen to, I'm afraid, apart from silence.
Odd that. I've often heard people say I was attractive. We'll have another go at it later, but let's get down to the matter at hand, because there's no doubt, is there? My master does have a soft spot for your mistress. Only today he was confiding in me. I'm thinking of unbuttoning myself to Lisette, he said.
He can do what he likes. My reply will be curt and courteous.
But the Countess does like it when he's around, doesn't she? She goes all bouncy. No one's ever likely to be tender with her. She's allergic to compliments. When she's sweet, she's sour. God only knows how you could talk love to that kind of woman. Unless, of course, you slip it in unexpected. Oh, incidentally, I love you. That sort of thing. Love can never get through her defenses. Vertical intrusion is the only answer. It's noised abroad that she thinks that love is an adolescent trifle, but I think that she's got a taste for this trifle. Thus, hence, I suggest we start moving the pieces over the board. What will that mean? They'll get married. And what will that mean? Well, you'll get your new colleague, and that's seeing me every day. We'll get married too. What do you think? Que sera, sera?
No chance.
You find the proposition displeasing?
Yes.
A frank little piece, aren't you? But listen to Lapine. I tell you they will get married, and you should assess the advantages.
And I tell you they won't. I don't want them to. You're sufficiently astute to notice that the Countess considers herself above love. I want to keep things that way, because it wouldn't be to my advantage if she were to remarry. It's by no means sure that the Countess would benefit from a change in status, and it's certain that I wouldn't. I worked it out. So, all your dealings are not to my liking. Grit in the oil, if you see what I mean. Thus, hence, you'll just have to forget this little mishap and pass me by, avoiding arrest.
Too late, you can't undo the magic. You'll have to give in.
Sorry, you'll just have to pine, Lapine.
Your last word.
The matter's closed.
Look, excuse my fixation. You may have got things worked out, but so have I. You say they mustn't get married, I say they must, so they will.
Big mouth.
Wait and see, and then, I love you. You say no, I say yes. and I'm used to getting what I want.
Oh, not this time you won't.
Enough badinage. Let's hear what my master has to say.
Ah, Lisette, there you are. I'm very pleased to see you.
Likewise, I'm sure, Monsieur le Marquis, but I was just on my way out.
Oh, you're going. Pity, I had something I wanted to ask. Say, are we friends?
Good question.
I have nothing but respect for you, Monsieur le Marquis.
Really? That's really nice of you, Lisette. And now you come to mention it, I'm very fond of you as well. You've always given me the impression of being an honest girl, and always deserving of the mistress you serve, if you get...
I am aware of my good fortune.
Speaking of which, of whom I mean, does she ever, your mistress, talk about me? And what did she say?
Nothing.
Oh dear. You see, between you and me, the thing is, there is not another woman in the world who I like as much as her.
What do you mean by like? Love?
Well, yes. Love, if you like. Or vice versa. The actual noun isn't terribly important, is it? If it is a noun. I love stroke like her more than anyone else. There you have it in a nutshell.
I see.
She, of course, hasn't got the foggiest. I haven't dared broach the matter. I don't feel I have the gift of the amorous gab, if you see what I mean.
Yes, I do.
So I'm a little confused. Your mistress is a very level-headed woman. I'm frightened she'd take the wind out of my sails, and once deflated, I'd be stuck. Wouldn't know what to say. I was just wondering if you couldn't, perhaps, prepare the ground.
I'm afraid I can't help you, Monsieur le Marquis.
Oh dear, why not? I'd be terribly grateful. And of course I'd reward any effort on my behalf. If this young man were to your liking, I'd fix things up. Ice the cake.
Tempted, or perhaps you'd like a minute to weigh the pros and cons?
No way. If ever I were to broach the matter with the Countess, I'd have to use the noun you just used, which, however innocuous you might think it to be, would doubtless make her angry. First with me, then with you. You know what she's like.
You think there's nothing we can do?
I'm afraid not.
A pity. And she's always been so civil with me. Never mind. Suppose I'd better forget the whole thing.
Don't listen to her. She's having you on. Come have a chat in the garden with Lepine. He'll cheer you up.
Really? Let's see if you can anyway. Lisette, all I ask is that you don't act against my interests.
Don't ask her anything. Just leave her be. So it's war. Me against you. As long as we know where we stand, so long for now, sweetheart. But don't think I love you any less. And remember, I've paid the first installment. I can take you home whenever I like.
It must be said, Lepine is desperately amusing. My mistress is not, unless I've got it very wrong in the mood for love. Poor Marquis, his days are numbered.
Have this letter sent to the post, will you, Lisette? I've written 10 in the last 3 weeks. 10! Can you imagine? There's nothing in the world as boring as a court case. I'm not surprised so many women get married again.
Then why bother going to the court in the first place? Are these 1,000 francs really that important? If they are, then of course, go ahead, get married. It wouldn't take me long to arrange. I've already got a candidate.
What are you talking about? Who said I wanted to remarry?
Don't get shirty, I was just being witty.
No doubt someone from Paris telling you stories, is that it? Don't tell me.
Come on, you know full well who I'm talking about.
Stop twittering. Listen, I've got an idea. The Marquis's valet, if he's at a loose end, or if the Marquis himself had something to post, he could take my letter at the same time. Have you seen the Marquis? Is he up yet?
I've seen him, but he's not what I'd call up. Speaking of which, the husband I've got in mind for you, who burns passionately for you.
Who is this moron?
Guess.
If he's burning, call the fire brigade. I'm not in the least interested in this Parisian.
Oh, Paris has got nothing to do with it. Your suitor's right here on the spot. You think he's an idiot. I'd be a little more generous. He gives off the impression of being a nice and simple man. Warm?
No idea. Come on, tell me.
The Marquis!
Which Marquis?
They're hardly crawling out of the woodwork.
Good God. How could I have ever guessed? Nice and simple? If you'd have said open-minded, honest, and open-minded, then I might have guessed.
can only describe him as I see him.
You must be blind as a bat. No one would have ever guessed in 1,000 francs years. Anyway, who's been telling you all his lovey-dovey nonsense?
He has, in person, but don't let on. Anyway, all you have to do is disentangle him gently.
Poor chap. The last thing I'd want to do would be to do him mischief. He's a gentleman whose qualities I much appreciate. And if there has to be someone, I'd prefer to be him rather than someone else. But are you sure you've got it right? Are you sure he didn't speak of, I don't know, esteem? He certainly does hold me in esteem, and has often and very gallantly given me signs of his esteem.
No, he said love. He's attracted to you, and for once he managed to say it without stuttering. Besides, languishes, pines, etc.
Then he really is to be pitied. Poor man. Because he's by no means brainless. And if he says it, he certainly must mean it. Worse, he's not the kind of person in whose mouth the word love sounds ridiculous. Only, he'll never talk to me about it, will he?
Oh, rest assured there's no chance of that. I put him off completely. Told him there wasn't the slightest hope. I trust I did well?
Yes, of course. As long as you managed to tell him without hurting his feelings. You are a little on the brusque side, Lisette, and I would like to remain on friendly terms. Perhaps we ought to have let him have his say.
That's not what he wanted. He wanted me to do it for him.
Poor boy.
I told him that I daren't. That if I even broached the matter with you, you'd be angry with me, then furious at him. In a word, you'd give him the boot.
Give him the what? What an appalling expression! Give him the boot? The boot! I wouldn't even give you the boot, Lisette. What made you think such a thing? Why start lying all of a sudden? You are going to make an enemy out of one of the few men in the world I respect, and who merits my respect to boot. Forget it. If only servants could learn to speak properly. All you had to do was tell him, I'm sorry, monsieur, it's neither my place nor my business, etc., etc. I'm afraid you'll just have to do the talking yourself. Now, you've made me wish he would talk to me about it in order to repair the damage you've done. The boot, he must feel deeply hurt.
You must understand, madame, it was the easiest way of getting rid of him. And what's the alternative? Are you going to love him so as to not hurt his feelings? Marry him to apologize? He's supposed to be marrying Hortensia, remember? Come on, I've said nothing out of place, and I've saved you a lot of trouble. Oh, I can see him dreaming up the garden path. You've still got time to slip off.
Slip off? Now that he's seen me? I most certainly will not slip off. Not after what you've just told me, which he no doubt thinks was prompted by me. No, I am going to carry on treating him exactly as before. Go and see to my letter.
There's more to this than meets the eye. I prefer to stay with you. I often do. So there'd be nothing on, and that way we'll avoid any declarations.
You're going to stay and protect me. Wonderful. Today, tomorrow, always going to stay around, just in case. The idea's ridiculous. Take my letter. I can manage. Thank you.
I won't be a moment. I'll just give the letter to a gardener.
You'll do no such thing. This is an important letter. I want you to take it in person so that if by chance we've missed the post, you can bring it back to me and we'll send it by some other means. I don't trust gardeners. They're not punctual.
The post doesn't leave for 2 hours.
Will you take it? I said, what is the world coming to?
She's not playing straight with me.
And just why did she so much want to wait around? I don't like servants. Their very servility is insolent. They wait, but they don't wait straight.
Madame, the Marquis spotted you in conversation with Lisette here in the conservatory, and he wondered if by any chance you'd be put out if he came in. He'd like a word, but in no way wishes to be importunate.
But the Marquis could never be importunate, Lapine. Tell him to come in. Tell him I'm delighted to see him.
I'll tell him immediately. He'll be over the moon. One moment. The Countess will graciously receive you now, sir. Come on, she was warm, almost tender. A flower. Go on, move in, pluck.
Why all the fuss, Marquis? You're very ceremonious all of a sudden.
You are indeed most gracious to accord me this. There are a few, indeed many things that I would like to...
You seem a little dreamy, even preoccupied.
Doubtless, lots of things buzzing around. I've come to you because I need advice. A sympathetic shoulder. Ear.
Then you've come to the right person. Because you need all you just said. You need even less than I need to be pleasant to you.
Pleasant. By all means, you can be more than that if you like. It's just up to you. I mean...
What do you mean, Marquis? Are you lacking in confidence? Come, no beating around the bush. You can ask of me what you will, I assure you.
Can I? Heavens, I'm sorely tempted to abuse your kindness.
My only worry is that you might resist the temptation. Take the plunge. That's what friends are for. You are too reserved.
I am, yes, a shade inhibited.
And I'm trying to cure you of your shyness, aren't I?
You are aware of the fix that I am in with Hortensia. I'm supposed to marry her. If I don't, I have to pay her 200,000 francs.
But she doesn't seem to have taken your fancy.
Not in the least. I don't like her at all.
I'm not surprised. Temperamentally, you're not suited. She is too affected.
That's just it. She's too aware of being attractive. You'd have to feed her compliments all the time, and compliments are not my strong point. Coquettish women make me feel ill at ease. When I'm around her, I don't open my mouth.
She is a little like that, I agree, but then all women are the same.
There, I disagree. You are an exception. You please, but you are unaware that you please. As if it wasn't your doing. I'm convinced that you don't even know how pleasing you are. Oh, but others do. Oh, yes.
Me? Policing? Quite honestly, I'd hazard others think of me as little as I think of myself.
You would think that, but I happen to know that some people don't let on about everything that's going on up there.
And who on earth could that be? Marquis friends like you, perhaps?
Friends? I hardly think you could call them friends. They won't be friends very long, anyway.
I do so appreciate the little compliments you managed to slip in by the by.
Nothing slipped in, I assure you. Everything said on purpose.
Really? So you don't think I can keep friends? Aren't you my friend?
Well, yes, but if I wasn't, if I were something else, not a friend, you wouldn't be surprised.
I'd be surprised, wouldn't I?
Surprised? You'd be furious.
Surprised, I said. Anyway, for the sake of argument, I am willing to concede that there may be some who find me pleasing.
Worse, charming. If only Hortensia were more like you, I'd be only too happy to marry her. As it is, I'm finding it more than difficult to get my nose down.
I understand, but think how much worse it would be if you were attracted to a third party.
But that's it. That's just what happens. That's precisely the problem.
You don't mean you're in love with a third party?
Passionately.
I must admit, Marquis, I did have an inkling.
But you wouldn't, by any stroke of luck, have an inkling as to the identity of the third party.
You tell me.
Go on. Have a guess.
Why should I bother guessing when all you have to do is own up?
There's the rub. You see, you know her. She's the most pleasing, the most unaffected. You were talking before of unpretentious people. She is in a class of her own. The more I look at her, the more I admire her.
Then why not marry her at once? Ditch Hortensia and Pigeon. I see no point in dilly-dallying. Do it.
Yes, but do you think there just might be a way of not losing the 200,000 francs? I'm hiding nothing from you.
Please, talk to me as if you were talking to yourself.
How beautifully put.
And how deliciously frank. I do so admire your frankness, Marquis. But down to business. How can we arrange things so that you don't have to lose the 200,000 francs?
Well, as things stand, Hortensia is in love with the Chevalier, who is, of course, a relative of yours.
Very distant.
Now, because she loves him, I can conclude that she can't give tinkers for me. So, all I have to do is pretend to want to marry her, in which case she'd have to refuse to marry me, and I don't owe her any money.
You could try, but it might be risky. She's a discerning woman, Marquis. You, blithely, modestly, supposed she'd turn you down. I'm not so sure. You're not to be sniffed at.
Me?
You!
You really do boost my desire to tell you everything. This is most encouraging.
Marquis, please listen to me. I'm out to help you in every way. Nothing's going to stop me, and you can count on me in any event. Would you please get that into your head, odd man that you are, and be bold enough to come to the point? You want advice? I'm giving you advice. And when it comes to complimenting, all you have to do is open your mouth and compliment. Compliments are no more complicated than anything else. Understand?
You're filling me with both delight and hope.
Let's look at the situation rationally, step by step. What if Hortensia accepts your proposal?
What an appalling thought! In that event, I just have to pay out the 200,000 francs. Provided beforehand, of course, that the woman who has stolen my heart, as it were, had agreed that she was happy to accept me.
And do you anticipate that she's going to be difficult? Does she know that you love her?
Good Lord, no. I haven't dared tell her.
It couldn't be, Marquis, could it, that you're pushing shyness to the limits of the bearable? However much I admire courteous reticence, this is becoming slightly ridiculous. You're not doing yourself justice.
She's so sensible. I'm frightened of her. You really think I ought to broach the matter?
I think you ought to have already done so. Maybe she's just waiting for you to do it. And if she is sensible, what have you got to be frightened of? Modesty is, of course, admirable, but modest people do propose things. So go on, Marquis, out with it. Everything will be fine, I assure you.
Easily said, but if you knew who it were, perhaps you wouldn't be so keen. How lucky you are not to be in love, to despise it even.
I beg your pardon. Me? Despise love? Love? The most natural feeling in the world? But Marquis, think. That wouldn't be sensible of me, would it? I've got nothing against lovers, or the general run-of-the-mill average lover that get up my nose. But I've got nothing, repeat, nothing against the feeling itself, which is honest, permissible, and involuntary. It's quite possibly one of the best feelings in the world. How could I hate it? I assure you. And there even is a man who, if he were to confess that he loved me with that frankness of yours, which I spoke of earlier, I'd be happy to forgive.
It is true, things that openly, candidly do sometimes...
Please, and never offend. Is that clear? That's what I think. I'm not a heartless monster.
It would be such a pity if you were. You're in such wonderful health.
What the hell is he talking about, helpful? It's the country air.
Oh, but even in town you have bright eyes and a fresh glow to your cheeks.
I'm in good shape, thank you. But, Marquis, do you realize what you're doing? You're paying me a compliment.
Of course I do. As I said, I do everything deliberately.
But don't you think you should reserve your compliments for the woman you love?
Perhaps, yes, but if that woman were you, then you could keep them, couldn't you?
I beg your pardon, if it were you. Marquis, are you talking about me? Is this a declaration of love?
No. Not in the least.
Then what got it into your head to start talking to me about my health and my complexion? I mean, your intentions could be misinterpreted.
No, it's just a manner of speaking. All I'm saying is that it's a great pity that you've closed the door on love and remarriage and that this very disposition is a death blow to my happiness because there's not another woman in the world to whom I am as suited as I am to you. But I'm not saying anything about it because I don't want to rub you up the wrong way.
But you're doing it again, this love talk. You are in love with me and you're telling me in no uncertain way.
And what if I am? But even if I had been and it was you, there's no sense getting angry about it. Everything's lost. Just let's keep calm. Let's just pretend that I didn't and haven't ever said anything.
What an appalling anticlimax. You are an extremely odd man.
And you are in a very bad mood. You, who only a few moments ago was saying that all one has to do is openly declare one's love in a candid fashion. Look what happens when you do. I'm in a pretty pickle.
This is worse than when we started. Why are you so angry? Who are you so cross with?
With no one. That's all there is to it. Please, you must be delighted. But I can tell you here and now that if you're going to lose your temper at everyone who behaves like me, you're going to have your work cut out.
He really is a little weird. And who was angry with whom?
No one. No one with no one. The way that you turned me down was extremely pleasant.
You're out of your mind.
Perfect! Wonderful! First, you whisper under your breath, "Oh yes, I heard you, that I'm weird, and now I'm a nutcase." Tremendous! A fool! A loon! Oh, but don't think that I'm complaining. Oh no, I prefer things to be clear. I'm just not your kind of man. That's all there is to it. So all I have to do now is shut up. So I'll shut up. Adieu, Countess. I trust that we will nevertheless remain good friends, and that you will at least have the kindness to help me out of this mess I am in with Hortensia.
What a novel lover. I know prize simple people, but his particular brand of simplicity is perhaps just a shade too complicated.
I grabbed the Marquis as he was going up the garden path. Rash out, and there's no reason why the Countess shouldn't also be present.
As you wish, madame.
I presume you know what I want to see you about?
I'm afraid I don't. Or at least, I can't remember.
You surprise me. I was hoping that you'd have the wit to break this silence. It is extremely humiliating to have to take the first step. Have you forgotten that there is a will, a legacy which concerns us both?
Ah, yes. A will. It all comes back now.
A will which, as it were, leaves me to you.
That is the case, yes. I have to marry you. Absolutely correct.
Well, have you made up your mind? I would very much appreciate a decision. It is certainly no news to you that you have a rival, namely the Chevalier, a relative of yours, madame. Now, I don't necessarily like the Chevalier any more than I like you, but I certainly don't like him any less than anybody else. Consequently, I would be quite willing to marry him in the event of you deciding not to marry me. But, as the Chevalier just told me that for extremely urgent reasons he must know one way or the other today, I promised him I'd have it out with you. So, what shall I do? Love him or leave him? It goes, of course, without saying that if it's me that you want, I'm yours for the taking.
In that case, I accept your most gracious offer.
Are you speaking from the heart?
Why shouldn't I be? Are you not lovable?
So you love me?
I haven't said that I didn't. Only now I was just talking it over with the Countess.
That is true. He said he was toying with the idea of marriage.
And did he say that he was in love with me?
He might well have done. He intimated certain leanings, that's for sure.
Then how do you explain, Monsieur le Marquis, that you've not spoken to me once over the last 6 weeks? Someone in love generally drops the odd hint, and in the present circumstances, such behavior would hardly have been out of place.
That is true. Only time goes by, one is absent-minded, and one doesn't know how the other party is going to react.
How charmingly modest. Good, that's settled. I'll tell the Chevalier. He said he's going to marry me, but he hates the idea. Don't fret, it's a ruse.
This whole business worries me. Oh well, madame, there goes my last hope. I suppose it was stupid to think that the Marquis could ever refuse you.
Correct. I'm going to marry the Marquis. The matter is settled. Destiny parts us. All along, the Marquis has been nursing a secret passion for me. And it's only because he's absent-minded that he didn't tell me.
Absent-minded? You mean he forgot?
Absolutely. Then he remembered and told me, having first told the Countess.
But if you knew, Countess, why didn't you tell me? I always thought that the Marquis was in love with you.
With me? What next? Why drag me into this?
That I had the same impression.
You both have a very odd sense of humor.
And I'm saying nothing.
You realize, Marquis, that you're driving me to despair.
I'm dreadfully sorry, but put yourself in my shoes. There's a legacy to be had, you know that. What else is to be done? Where there's a will.
Perhaps if it wasn't for this will, you wouldn't love her as much as I do.
Look, please, I love her just enough as it is, thank you.
And I shall do all in my endeavor to be a worthy object of your passion. Now push for a swift wedding.
This could backfire. In my woeful state, Marquis, I would be most grateful if you gave me irremediable proof of the vanity of all hope.
Well, the only proof I can give is to marry her. And I can't just marry her now, like that, can I?
I see what you mean. He will marry you.
You're ruining it. I think I understand what the Chevalier wants. He still hopes, beyond hope, that we won't get married. Is that it, Chevalier?
No, madame, I have surrendered all hope.
I don't know. I'm sorry, but I don't. You don't find the Marquis wholly convincing. I can feel it. And as you are leaving for Paris tomorrow, where if necessary you will start a new life, I quite understand that you'll feel happier in your mind if the last spark of hope had been well and truly doused. That's it, isn't it? You want concrete evidence? Say yes. I thought so. Monsieur le Marquis, look, we're not far from Marquis to go and fetch your solicitor. We can draw up our marriage contract and put the poor Chevalier out of his misery.
I get the impression that you're pushing the Chevalier into requesting something he doesn't want at all.
On the contrary, Countess, I would, yes, find a solicitor most comforting.
That's an odd thing to say.
No, it isn't. He has to know where he stands. It's as simple as that, and he's right. He didn't dare ask, that's all. So I asked for him. Are you not going to send the Peen, Marquis?
If you absolutely insist. But who would have thought 10 minutes ago that we would be needing solicitors? I mean, today of all days.
I beg of you, Marquis.
Come, Chevalier. Surely you can wait until tomorrow. This sudden passion for proof is really a little bizarre. Personally, I have no desire whatsoever to clutter up my house with solicitors. I'd like a quiet evening. Tomorrow will be perfect. There.
Once more with feeling.
Countess, I beg of you.
Beg of me? You must be mad! Can you really be in such a hurry to see your rival marry your mistress? Of course, if that's what you want.
Listen, it would be most discourteous of us to importune on our hostess any further. She's right. Tomorrow will be perfect.
Then as soon as she agrees, we'll send the Peen. Here's Lisette. We'll ask her to go get him. Lisette, the marriage contract between myself and the Marquis is to be drawn up this evening. The Marquis is going to send the Peen to Paris to fetch a solicitor. Could you tell him to come and see us?
I'll be 2 seconds.
Just a moment. I don't want to have anything to do with this or any other marriage. Neither me nor my servants.
I was only trying to be helpful. All I had to do was pop out on the garden, nothing to it. Look, there he is on the terrace, Lapine!
You called?
Saddle a horse, ride to Paris, fetch a solicitor. Madame and Monsieur le Marquis are going to get married.
A solicitor? She's telling the truth. I thought we were going hunting today. Hares, not solicitors.
No, it's now the latter which is required.
Well, I see no point in going to fetch yours. He's probably dead. Don't you remember? Running a high temperature he was last time we saw him. Doctors everywhere. Going fast to his brain it was.
True, he was looking rather poorly.
Poorly, hardly poorly, deathly more like.
In that case, we best fetch Madame's solicitor in his place.
Would you please shut up? Because if your solicitor is dead, so is mine. He's not been himself for some time.
Anyway, we can make do without him. There's more than one solicitor in Paris. The Peen can find it if the dead one feels any better. We've been here for 6 weeks. He's had plenty of time to resuscitate. Right here, Marquis. Tell him he can't come himself to send a replacement. In the meantime, the Peen can get ready.
Sorry, madame, no go. If I get on a horse, I'm finished. All of this talk of hunting just now, madness, it just came over me. I don't feel well at all. And I won't be going after anything today. Horses, solicitors, you name it, nothing.
Are you dead too?
No, but extremely ill. Fell down the stairs yesterday. On my back. And if I hadn't caught myself down by the braces, I'd have been off down another. Appalling pain, really. Incredible.
In that case, you can take my carriage. Tell him to leave at once, Marquis.
But he really doesn't look too good. All crumpled. Not surprising after a flight of stairs. Ought to be in bed. But, yes, you must do as they say, if you can.
Come on, Lapine, you'll be all right in a carriage.
I'll come clean. Do me a favor. I don't want to go to Paris. The Marquis is just going to sign away his happiness. You don't love him, madame. I know you don't. This marriage would be a big mistake, and I'd kick myself forever if I helped arrange it. There. If you think I've overstepped the mark, all you have to do is say, thank you, Lapine. That will be all. And I'll be off, content to have been honest.
What a wonderful servant, a bijou.
You heard what he said. He's as stubborn as a mule. What else? What can be done? You try and budge him. I can't. Even if I lose my temper, it would do no good. So I'll just have to dismiss him. Thank you, Lapine. That will be all.
We can make do without him. Go and write your letter all the same. I'm going to write one to my family. One of my people will take her someone from the village. Go and write to him, I said.
Look, I hope you know what you're doing, because if there is any chance you don't love me, too bad, because I'm going through with it.
You've gone too far.
I know exactly what I'm up to, thank you. Farewell, Chevalier. You will understand that it is no longer seemly for me to spend time in your company.
Farewell, mademoiselle. Henceforth, my only companion shall be the chagrin with which you leave me.
Dear God, that woman has got the devil in her. Do you think she really loves me?
Of course she doesn't. But she's sufficiently pig-headed to marry you. Take my advice, call the whole thing off.
What if I offered to pay her 100,000 francs to split the difference? Only problem, I wouldn't have the money on hand.
Don't let that stop you. I can lend it to you. I've got the money in Paris. Quickly call them back before they disappear. This was all beginning to upset me.
This really is so infinitely kind of you. Madame, Monsieur le Chevalier, would you step back inside for a moment? I have something I would like to suggest.
What else is there to be said?
Can there still be reason for hope?
I thought you'd gone off to write your letter.
All in good time. I have an offer to make. An extremely reasonable offer.
An offer? And what can that mean? Have you been having me on? Could it be that your love is not as true as you'd have me to believe?
Love? Good God, you apparently don't love me at all. I find that extremely vexing.
I don't love you yet, but I will. And then if both partners are virtuous, the wife can always make do without love.
The wife, perhaps, but not the husband, and certainly not me. Ultimately, our marriage would only afford us the necessary leisure for endless bickering. And so I thought we might come to an agreement. There are 200,000 francs at stake. Let's split the difference. I'll concede you half, even though you don't love me, and we'll have no need for solicitors or what have you, whether dead or alive.
I breathe again!
Are you in your right mind, monsieur? Do you really think that 100,000 francs could compensate for the disadvantage of not being married to you? You underestimate yourself.
May I inform you, madame, that I am not worth tuppence when I'm in one of my bad moods? And I can assure you here and now that from henceforth, I ever shall be.
My innate sweetness will be my protection.
But isn't it sickening to be compelled to share a large sum of money with someone who couldn't give tinkers for you? We shall be compelled to consult a court of law. We'll see if I can be forced to marry a girl who doesn't love me.
In that case, I'll say I do love you. And who would doubt my word once I've agreed to marry you? I'll plead that it's you who doesn't love me. Worse even, who loves someone else.
Maybe, but the identity of that someone else doesn't happen to be public knowledge, as is the case with the Chevalier.
Oh no, I know who it is, monsieur.
Look, would you please put an end to this little scene?
I shall marry you, monsieur. That's all there is to be said.
Fine, as you wish, and I shall marry you, mademoiselle.
Wonderful, let's get married then.
Splendid! But to get our marriage off to a good start, I would be most grateful if your friendship with the Chevalier became suddenly less intimate.
This is getting out of control, and so was he.
Calm. The Chevalier knows me well enough to understand that he'll never see me again. Adieu, monsieur. I'm going to write my letter. Make sure yours is also ready. There's no time to lose.
Listen to me. You can sign your marriage contract when and where you like, but not, I'm afraid, now or here. You're not marrying each other. You're cutting each other's throats. I prefer to lend my house to a funeral. You can go and play out your drama elsewhere.
Fine, we have a neighbor, the Marquise. We'll do it at her place.
We shall if I say we shall, because I'm in charge. And I've never heard of this Marquise.
That makes no difference. You'll give in the end. I'm going to leave you for a moment.
This scene has given a boost to my hopes.
Just a minute, Chevalier. I'd like a word. Have you ever in your life seen anything like this? You love Hortensia. Hortensia loves you. This marriage must appall you. I mean, I'm not pining for Hortensia, and even I feel horrified.
It is indeed atrocious. Unheard of.
You can say what you like. It makes no difference. She's going to be my wife. But, and here's the clever bit, I am going to be her husband. Aha. That'll give her something to think about. Today the contract, tomorrow the wedding, tonight locked up in her room. That's the way it is. She's put me in one of my moods, and I'm not going to budge an inch.
I, on the other hand, think we should call the whole thing off. I tell you, a sensible solicitor, once he learned what was going on, would refuse to have anything to do with the whole business. If I was their mother, I'd lock them both up in their rooms. Can Hortensia really be ready to throw her life away for such a paltry sum? You, Chevalier, with your innate gentlemanliness, can't you Intervene, make her listen to sense, if only because you love her. I'm sure all this wheeler dealing is on your behalf.
There's nothing to be lost in remaining firm. What do you want me to do, Countess? I simply can't see any way out.
I beg your pardon, my hearing must be going. I certainly cannot have heard what you just said.
I said I am powerless to do anything. Indeed, it is precisely my love for Hortensia which prevents me from intervening.
Would you be so kind as to unravel the reasons which sustain this position?
My one desire is for Hortensia to be happy. If I marry her, she won't be. I simply don't have enough money. However sweet our love, it would inevitably go sour. She'd regret having married me, regret not having married the Marquis. That's a risk I daren't take.
I choose to disregard what you've just said. These cannot be your words coming out of your mouth.
Yes, they are, madame.
Then what a mean and mercantile little man you are, cousin. A perfect match for Hortensia. A marriage of small minds. What an appalling way to love.
I assure you, my reasons are born of tenderness.
Tenderness! The very word is soiled by its mere passage through your mouth.
But
You disgust me. We are, unfortunately, related, but I'd prefer not be noised abroad. I happen to have an idea of your present financial situation. You are sufficiently well off, let me tell you, to go without this miserable little pittance which is at stake, a sum which can moreover be won only by means of trickery. To think I once had a good opinion of you. How penny-pinching and sordid, and you dare say you are in love. Very shriveled kind of love. Would you please go, Chevalier? I have nothing else to say to you.
And I have nothing more to fear from you. The letter is going to leave immediately. You have just 3 short hours to spend in the presence of Hortensia. After that, curtains.
rest assured, before the ink is dry on that contract, I'll be gone. As for you, Countess, I think once you've had an honest look at the situation, you'll be a little less hard on your cousin.
I most certainly will not. I have never in my life despised anyone so much.
Well, whew. Poor old me.
Please get rid of her. Give her the 200,000 francs.
When I can keep them by marrying her, not on your life. I'm damned if I'm going to put myself out of pocket to that extent. Besides, I'd have the devil of a job rounding up that kind of money.
Haven't I already told you that half the sum is ready and waiting? As for the other half, we'll just have to see.
But when you borrow money, you have to pay it back. Of course, things would have been different if you hadn't rejected me. But, as there's absolutely no hope on that front, I may as well hang on to this little miss. As it is, she's becoming rather expensive to spurn.
Oh, expensive. Be careful or you'll start talking like everyone else. Surely you of all people are not going to stoop to small-mindedness. Expense mustn't come into it. Even if it costs you every penny you've got, you must get rid of her. Because you don't love her.
Her or someone else, what's the difference? Apart from you, they're all the same to me. Blonde, big, small, dark. It's you I wanted. It's you I can't have. It's only you I've ever loved.
You'll have to get that worked out for yourself. Surely you can't be telling me that I have to marry you in order to get you out of this situation in which you find yourself. That's not particularly subtle.
I'm not telling you you have to do anything. You make me sound even more ridiculous than I am. I'm fully aware that you owe me nothing. It's not your fault that I'm in love with you, and I'm not pretending in any way that you're in love with me. In fact, I'm being particularly discreet about the whole business.
Which is much to your honor. Your discretion is nothing but intelligent, Marquis, and you're wrong in thinking I believe you to be more ridiculous than you are.
The problem, in a nutshell, is the following. I am entering into a marriage with a young woman with a heart a little more heavy than it would have been had I never met you, Countess. That is all I hold against you. Adieu.
So you're off just like that without even stopping to consider any other possible alternatives?
What alternative? There is no alternative. There was an alternative, but it failed. Flopped. So there's nothing to be done. If you'll excuse
Good
me,
evening, Marquis. Please, don't waste precious seconds bowing. Chop chop, time is running out. Would someone be so kind as to explain to me what I've said or done that has implanted in this man's brain the idea that I am not in love with him? I am, I must admit, more and more sorely tempted, prompted by no more than impatience, to tell him outright that yes, I do love him, if only to show him what a stupid idiot he is. I must, I will.
Could I I take the liberty of requesting a brief word with Madame.
What is it?
I was wondering if the Countess might be able to do something to patch things up between me and the Marquis.
I do sympathize. You serve him loyally and well, and what does he do in return? He punishes you. He is twisted.
I was gratified to note that Madame did seem to approve of my refusal to leave for Paris. If memory serves me correctly, bijou was the word used.
And I have no reason to retract my compliment.
It is, however, this very excellence which is jeopardizing my current employment. However, where the Countess finds me, the Marquis is going to give me the boot.
I won't hear of it. I'll speak in your favor.
Perhaps Madame might explain to the Marquis why I did what I did. I got a bit overexcited. The solicitor business worried me. So first I made him sick, and then I made him dead. Given half a chance, I would have buried him. All this out of nothing but affection for the Marquis. What thanks do I get? I do happen, incidentally, in passing to be aware of the fact that the Marquis is in love with you. Lisette knows it too. The Marquis and I even had a little chat with her to see if she wouldn't soften you up in his favor, so to speak. But she wouldn't. She was afraid it might compromise her tips.
Come again?
The story is the following. She's got it worked out that if you remain a widow, you're more advantageous than if you were to remarry. In terms of her profit margins, you're more lucrative unattached. That's what Lisette says.
Lucrative me? What a charming servant, how wonderfully loyal.
Not particularly flattering, is it? And that sort of mentality you doubtless find repugnant. Your sensitivity is sorely offended, and that's what makes you a countess. But not everyone's a countess, are they? What I've just told you, that's how a servant's mind works. And servants, you've just got to accept them for what they are. I mean, do we get angry with an ant for crawling? You get my point. Lowly status, lowly ideas. Lisette hasn't got any money, and she thinks she can get some by being mean.
The nerve. Here she comes in person. I'll patch things up with the Marquis. Tell him to come and see me.
The immediate forecast is none too promising.
What the hell does that mean?
Lisette, it's you.
It is, madame. The post had it left. Well, what did the Marquis have to say for himself?
I think I ought to marry him, if only to teach you a lesson.
I don't know about lessons, but I can tell you that I was just on my way to see you to tell you exactly that.
Really? I find that a little surprising. Wouldn't you run the risk of ending up out of pocket?
Who's talking about money?
You told Lapine that it wouldn't be to your financial advantage if I remarried. So I'm thinking that I might have to do exactly that in order to elude the clutches of my venial servants.
He said that, did he? So he kept his word. There's something that perhaps you don't know, madame. He's in love with me. Therefore, it is very much in his interest that you marry the Marquis. When I refused to help, he felt slighted. He told me I'd regret it. This is him punishing me. But to be honest, does all this ring true? Do you really think I'd have said that? Would your opinion of me change if you were remarried? Would you be in any way less generous, any less warm-hearted?
I don't think I would, no.
I mean, especially if you married the Marquis, who happens to be one of the nicest men in the world. It's crazy. What have I got to lose? In fact, I can only gain. If I'm so interested in money, my potential source of income would double.
You're right.
But finally, if you want real proof that I'm the opposite of the person Lapine has just described, how do you account for the fact that I was on my way to see you, to press you into this marriage, which I now consider to be urgent?
I do believe you, Lisette. And I had no idea Lapine was in love with you. That explains everything. But besides this matter, what did you want to tell me?
What I told you, that the Marquis is a very nice man.
I've never thought any different.
A true friend, a companion, and never a tyrant.
You've never said a truer word.
And then all your paperwork is getting on top of you.
Worse. I can't even understand most of it, added to which I'm lazy.
And all this sparks up bouts of bad temper, which are not good for you.
I've only had migraines since I was a widow.
Lawyers, tenants, debtors. The Marquis would deal with all that.
Heavens. You seem to have considered all this far more constructively than I have.
I'd even go as far as to say there's only one man in the whole world at this very moment to whom you're really suited. Him.
In that case, I ought to give the matter serious thought.
You don't find him unattractive?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't go so far as to say my feelings could be characterized as passion, but on the other hand, I have nothing with which to reproach him.
And what more could you ask for? I mean, to say passion? If you had to hang around waiting for passion to come flaming down out of the skies, you'd be a widow till the cows come home. And anyway, it's not the man that's important, it's his temperament.
Which, it must be said in his case, is quite exceptional.
And just think of the good deed you'd be doing getting him to break off this awful marriage which he's contracted more out of despair than love.
You're right. It would be a humane gesture, and we are all called upon to do our little bit.
In the present instance, a little bit which is not going to require any great sacrifice on your part.
You plead his case with pleasing conviction, Lisette. Suddenly I'm warmly disposed in his favor. Only I'm afraid it's going to be difficult to get him round to our way of thinking.
What do you mean? He told you he loved you, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He told me he loved me. And my first reaction was to act surprised. I mean, it's the least one can do. But do you know what happened? He mistook the surprise for anger, deduced that I couldn't stand him, and thinks that I'm furious with him for being in love. That's where things stand at the moment, and I'm finding it rather difficult to persuade him of the opposite. I mean, I can hardly turn on him and say, "Stop talking such utter rubbish," can I? I would be throwing myself at his feet. So I don't do anything.
I see what you mean. Tricky. You're right, you can't do that. But if you can't do that, you can't do anything. Perhaps the best solution would be to forget the whole business.
What? Make up your mind! First you want me to marry him, then you want me to forget him. You go from one extreme to the other. But then I guess it's not entirely his fault. I am a little on the rough side.
Just what I was going to say. Would you like me to have a word with Lepine? He can encourage the Marquis to press on regardless.
Certainly not. Unless, of course, I had nothing to do with the request.
It wasn't your idea, it was mine.
In that case, I don't want to know anything about it. But if he does somehow manage to marry me, it will be entirely of your doing, and I'll be sure that he is aware of the fact.
You're too kind, madame.
Talking of which, that brown dress I don't like, take it, a present.
And who said marriage was going to make you any less generous? I'll go find Lepine. No point. I'll leave you alone with the Marquis.
Here's the letter for the solicitor. Just written it, only don't know whether to send it or not. In a bit of a tizzy. You wanted to see me?
I wanted to speak in favor of Lepine. He only acted from the best of intentions, and now he's afraid you want to get rid of him. I'd be most grateful if you'd think again, and I'm sure you won't refuse me this little favor. That is, as you said, you love me.
Oh yes, I do. And will, for a long time yet. Ever, even.
I'll do nothing to prevent you.
Oh, but you can't. Couldn't. If I can't and couldn't, how could you? Anyway, I wouldn't let you.
Oh, these tough, manly tones.
Go on, laugh. Enjoying yourself, are you?
More than you could imagine.
My God, if only I had never set eyes on you.
You do wield the most exquisite terms of phrase.
What's the point of being exquisite? Doesn't get me very far, does it? Given that you hate me.
This hate business is beginning to get slightly on my nerves. What proof have you? The only quality of mine you can be certain of is my patience. My patience in listening to your harebrained ramblings. Have I ever once used any of the offensive adjectives you so willingly attribute to me? Nothing I've ever said could be thought to communicate anger, hate, or scorn. These ideas are your own concoctions. They're cooked up in that odd brain of yours. You are, without any stretch of the imagination, the most clumsy man I've ever met. What a way to reply. And I'm even wrong to say you reply, because I don't ever get to talk to you. And yet you still complain.
I am perhaps a shade fantastical.
No, you're not. You're the most unbearable man I've ever met. Your so-called conversations are unique, incredible.
Go on. Hurt me. I love it.
Wait, you say that you love me. I believe you. Then what do you want from me in way of reply?
What do I want? Hardly the most difficult question in the world. You know just as well as I do what I want.
Well then think, haven't I already said it? What a way to reply. Look, let's call it a day.
Too bad. Hard luck on me. All I ask is that you appreciate why I am so miserable.
Get this into your head once and for all. When you tell someone that you love them, the least you can do is ask them what their reaction is.
You're getting angry again.
I can't bear it. Good day.
All right, madame. I love you. What do you think? And and once more with feeling. What do you think?
What do I think? I'm delighted! That's what I think! I'll say it again, I'm delighted! Good grief. If I hadn't got you by the scruff of your neck, we'd have been in this greenhouse for years.
She's delighted! I love her, and she's delighted! Heavens, I do feel better. May I kiss your hand?
Is your letter ready yet, Marquis? What do my eyes deceive me? You could be kissing the Countess's hand.
Precisely. It is just my way of thanking her for making the 200,000 francs I'm about to give you unimaginably painless.
It's wonderful that at last you decided to be a good sport.
Then everyone is happy! Allow me to embrace you, Marquis! This Countess is the happy ending we've all been waiting for.
And there's no point in waiting any longer, is there?
Well, it looks as though I'm going to have to marry you after all.
I had it all worked out from the beginning.